Hey guys, my name is Blake. Welcome. Today I'm doing my May wrap-up. In May, I managed to read 6 books and 1 novella. One of the books I read was a mystery novel, which I don't normally read those, and I'll save that for the end of my wrap-up, but the rest were fantasy. The first book I read was Six of Crows by Leigh Bardugo. This is the first book in the Six of Crows duology. I definitely think this has the potential to become a favorite series of mine. I absolutely love the characters. Matthias was my favorite, followed closely by Nina. I love the characters and the way they interacted with one another. This was easily a 5-star read. This is one of my favorite reads of the year. I haven't read Crooked Kingdom yet, but I'm going to get to it soon. I heard a spoiler for Crooked Kingdom a while back. It was unmarked, and I know that I'm going to be heartbroken when I read Crooked Kingdom, and I'm definitely going to be devastated. And I'm just not mentally ready. But I loved the heist element. I know I've seen a lot of people say that they didn't like the heist. I personally really enjoyed it. I definitely think that this book expanded the Grishaverse world. It explained more about people's abilities and their Grisha powers. We got more world building, and I really appreciated it. And I think that this is Leigh Bardugo's best character work by far. There are a lot of flashbacks, and I really enjoyed them, and I've seen a lot of people say that they didn't like that aspect as well, but I mean, I ate it up from the time I started till the time I finished. I didn't want to put it down. I couldn't stop thinking about it. The next book I read was The Lies of Locke Lamora. I was wanting to pick up something like Six of Crows when I finished it, but I wasn't ready to move on to the sequel. And I have seen a lot of people in comparison videos say, if you like Six of Crows, you should read The Lies of Locke Lamora, or vice versa. So I picked up The Lies of Locke Lamora because I wanted something that was in the same vein, and I was really let down. Maybe that was a mistake on my part. I still enjoyed The Lies of Locke Lamora, but I ended up giving it 3 stars. I didn't love it as much as I thought I would. That this is pitched as a heist story with an amazing friendship. I didn't get either of those feelings. I feel like I was really misled going into this book. Throughout this book, there are various cons going on, but there isn't really one overarching heist element. We're just following con artist. And I was so disappointed with the friendships. The friendship aspect between Locke and Jean doesn't really come until later in the story. We don't get their history until, like, I don't know, 400 or 500 pages in. And I was kind of disappointed by that. There was so much world building in this book, and I normally love world building, but the author spends so much time describing things that I don't care about, like the fabric of the clothing, or the accent, or the history of winemaking in this fantastical world, and I just didn't care about any of those things. The things that I really wanted to know about kind of got brushed over, such as the different religions of the city, or the magic system, or different gangs of crooks in the city. I was really interested in knowing more about, and I just never saw any of that really brought up as much as I would have liked. One thing that I really did love about this book, though, was the dialogue. I really liked the way that the characters interacted with each other. Jean was actually my favorite character, and I enjoyed the flashback chapters so much more in the story. And I also really enjoyed the ending. The last 100 pages or so were what I was looking for in this book. So I will continue on with the sequel just to see if it continues to go in the direction that I hope it goes in. The next book I have is Sightwitch by Susan Dennard. I'm not crazy about novellas, but I have been told by a lot of people that you have to read this because it delivers important information for the 3rd book, which I hate it when novellas deliver important information and you have to read them, but whatever. But in this novel, we are following Briber, and she is one of the side characters from the first novel. And from this novel, we go into her past, and we see that she was a Sightwitch in a convent of Sightwitch sisters, and they have all been called by their goddess, but then they never return. So these witches are disappearing and Ryber doesn't know why. She makes it her personal mission to figure out what happened to them. Along the way, she teams up with another character from the series, and they're kind of going on this mission, and we are learning some more things about the world. I definitely don't think that this needed to be a novella. And at the end, we got a couple of pages that were really important to the story, and I definitely think that, you do need to read this novella to continue on. But I do wish that the author would have included it in the main books, because I feel like it makes more sense to put it there. I love Ryber as a character. I enjoyed her whenever she made appearances in the first book, but I especially enjoy her more now, especially knowing all the things that she has been through. It's about 200 pages, very short, but there really isn't very much I could say about it other than that, because I'm worried I'll get into spoilery territory. Up next, I have Avempartha by Michael J. Sullivan, and that's the second book in the Rye Revelation series. I really enjoyed this book. I always have a really fun time with this series. It's super quick. The books are fairly short. They're about 300 and something pages. I really enjoy following Royce and Hadrian, who are thieves for hire. But in this story, they have been hired to rid this little farming village of a monster. And with the first book in the series, it was super quick and really fun. And there wasn't really a whole lot of depth to that first story. Beyond what was there, it felt very episodic. And that's how I was thinking it was going to go throughout the series. But in the second one, the world gets bigger. And there's definitely a lot more going on than what I initially realized. The world seems to be... Something is definitely going on behind the scenes. There are other things at play that I'm starting to get the sense of. And I really enjoy Royce and Hadrian as characters. I especially love Hadrian. In this one, the world gets a lot bigger, and there's definitely more going on than what I originally suspected. It does seem like there is some coming war or a falling out between different fantasy races and kingdoms. And that was a really interesting aspect to read about. We did gain some more perspectives in this book that I thought were very interesting. There were definitely some slow moments in this story. I didn't enjoy it as much as the first book. Up next, I have The Bird and the Blade by Meg Bannen. I buddy read this one with a friend from Bookstagram, and she and I both really enjoyed it. I gave it 4 stars. This one is a fairy tale retelling, but if I tell you the title of which fairy tale it is retelling, it will be a giveaway for something major in the story. So, can't do that, but I will tell you that we are following a girl who is a slave to the Mongolian Empire, and she feels like she owes her loyalties to this prince who is kind to her, and she follows him as he is attempting to reclaim his throne after he has been exiled. There were definitely some slow moments in this book, but it is written like a fairy tale, and I really enjoyed the writing style. Sorry, I'm trying not to give away any spoilers, but this book ended in a way that I wasn't expecting. I didn't think that the author would go the direction that she did, and I was really surprised, and I really ended up enjoying what happened. It's definitely not a typical ending. It's not something that I think a lot of people would see coming. This book does feel insta-lovey, and I know that a lot of people don't like that. I don't personally like that either, but this book does take place over the course of a year, and a little longer. So it did feel more believable. There isn't much fantasy in this book, really. The only thing that is fantasy is the fact that our main character can see her brother's ghost. But that's not a big aspect of the story. I was a little frustrated with the main character as well. We don't really know very much about her until towards the end. And throughout a lot of the book, I was like, come on, why are you making this decision? Why are you doing this? And then as we approached the end of the story, we got her full backstory and everything that went down that was being hinted to in the story. And by the end of the book, I was really thankful that the author didn't give us that information earlier. The next book I read is Diva by Susanna Applebaum. I really hated this book. I gave it 1 star. We are following our main character as she is spending the summer in New York with her grandmother, and her grandmother owns this hotel. And there are paranormal beings in this hotel. And there is a war brewing between angels and demons. Which sounds like a really cool synopsis. But everything just kind of fell apart for me. The main character was so dumb, and she just believed everything. There was one point in the story when some random guy is like, I'll give you a tour of the basement. And she was like, cool. And I'm like, no, he could be a serial killer. And then someone says that her dad is a demon hunter. And she's like, that makes sense. And I'm like, no, it doesn't. She literally just believed everything. And the demons in this book were kind of ridiculous. Apparently, demons are afraid of French, people that speak French. Yes, and also they like to eat Botox. And I don't know if it was supposed to be funny or I don't know, but I laughed quite a few times while reading this. It's like 300 and something pages. I read it really quickly, but I just couldn't believe the stupidity of this character. And there's one part of the story where they're just toting around a severed head, and I didn't get why. And then we have this part of the story where there's this girl that our main character hates. And then in the next scene, they're like best friends. It felt like pages were missing. And then she tells this other girl that this hotel is being run by demons. And this other girl is like, that makes sense. And I'm like, no, it doesn't. And then we had our evil villain, which is this demon trying to open the gates of hell. And she captures our main character, but then... And she's going to sacrifice her. And she's having this giant party for the sacrifice. The main character isn't even under lock and key. She's not being guarded. She got to the party and where she's supposed to be sacrificed. And she's so calm. She's so chill. And she's like, I'm just going to hang out with my friends. And like she walks in and out the door freely. I'm like, what is going on? Marilyn Monroe was a demon hunter. And Marie Antoinette is the demon queen. And the only way you can kill a demon is with a guillotine. And then the last book I read was a mystery novel, and that is The Girl Who Knew Too Much by Amanda Quick. I ended up giving it 3 stars. I thought it was an enjoyable, quick read. We are following a newspaper journalist at a very fancy hotel in California, and she is trying to get the scoop on a murder investigation. It takes place in the 1930s, and I really enjoyed that 1930s setting and the idea of her snooping around a Hollywood murder. I wasn't really a fan of the romance that was in this book, and I don't think the characters were as developed as I would have wanted. And in this book, there are 2 mysteries that are overlapping, and I don't really feel like it made a lot of sense for those 2 mysteries to overlap. I wish that we would have just focused on the Hollywood murder instead of something from this reporter's past. Let me know what you read in May, or if you have read any of these and what your thoughts were, because I would love to know. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you again with another video soon. Bye!